Hey everybody, and welcome to Jenerally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the world of pop culture and personal development. I am your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. Here is what's been going on in mine. Let's start here and the fact that I was supposed to be starting this podcast 5 hours ago. But I just couldn't. We had like a weather pause because you guys, the wind has been so absolutely insane here that it has just been howling, and it doesn't matter what room in the house I go to record. I mean, you can hear it. It's everywhere. It is just shaking the walls at some point. So we had to put the pod on pause for a few hours and wait for the storm to pass. But oh, speaking of passing, here goes a plane overhead. Every time I watch Vanderpump Rules, oh, that sounds more like a chopper. Every time I watch Vanderpump Rules and I watch James's face when a plane goes overhead, I can fully relate to it because I, like James, live in the flight path of like the Burbank airport. I'm not quite as close, thank God, as James is, but I'm close enough that I get my fair share of planes overhead. So if you hear them, guys, just tune them out. Just pretend that it's just ambiance. And it is. That's what we're calling it today. On another note, so get this. My oldest daughter yesterday turned 29 years old. If you can believe that, which you probably can, but I can't. I mean, it is mind-blowing to me. There's something wild about the number 29. I feel like for some reason that is the age at which I remember really kind of clocking my parents' age. I remember thinking, wow, 29, they're really getting up there. Because, when you're a kid, that is up there, when you're like 5. But, and then when I turned 29, it was the same way because when you're 29, that's like, you're like a real adult at that point. You're not just like faking it in your early 20s, just barely legal. And then even when you're like 25 or 24, 25, 26, that's just like, oh yeah, now like it's official. But when you're 29, you're just basically knocking on 30's door and you are like basically a full-fledged adult at that point. So this daughter of mine turning 29 has really kind of hit me. It has just, really, it's so true. You blink. I feel like we were just in Vegas and she was just turning 21. It feels like that was, I don't know, last week, maybe not last week, but not freaking 9 years ago or 8 years ago. It's just 29. So she's 30 and then she's 35 oh Lord, I tell you, the older you get, the faster it goes. They say it. And also, listen, if you guys hear stuff, when you hear people say things over and over again, there's a reason why. And the fact is that the older you get, the faster the years fly. And that is why older people are constantly telling you to pay attention, to slow down and pay attention. Because it's true. Because suddenly you blink and your baby's 29 and you're about to be 52. Which is true. I am about to be 52. My daughter's birthday is on the 12th, and my birthday is the 21st. So, so there's that. So I have been, dealing with, I don't know if you guys deal with this, but for some reason, the 1st of March every year, I get this weird almost like low-grade birthday anxiety. And which, isn't like, it's not real anxiety. It's just a certain, I don't know. I just always, I don't know. My birthday is just a thing. I'm so grateful every year that I get the the absolute grace of God, and I get to turn another year older, and every year I'm so grateful for it. But I think it's just basically, I think it really just stems from me just wrestling with my mortality. It's not the years. It's not the years that I'm afraid of. It's the gratitude, truthfully, and I'm so very grateful for it. But it does make you kind of wrestle with your own mortality because you don't know how many birthdays you have left. And it really just makes you dial down on gratitude, which is the point of it all. And I am so, don't make me cry. The truth is, if I start talking about how grateful I am to be alive, I will get emotional because I am. I feel so blessed every day that I get to be on this wild ride called life. I genuinely feel like the luckiest. But it does make you think about all that shit. But I'm happy to have the issue. Speaking of issues that I do not have, another thing that I'm so very grateful for, I spent the last, 12, 14 days now waiting for mammogram results to come back. And they did. My mammogram results came back, and I was given the green light, everything was great, which for me is just, for everyone, obviously, is so huge. But my mom, geez, at my age, my mom had already had cancer for, breast cancer for already probably 12, 13 years by the time she was, more than that. Yeah, my mom was diagnosed when she was 33, and I am about to be 52. So, yeah, so that's why every time I get a clear mammogram back, it just feels like I really dodged such a huge bullet given my mom's history. But anyway, so no breast cancer, but I will say I also recently went and had this huge blood draw. One day I had 15 vials. This is no shit, you guys. I went to Quest. I had 15 vials of blood drawn, and then I went to my rheumatologist, and they drew 4 more vials of blood. Can you believe that? It was ridiculous. I sat there thinking, how many vials of blood can I give before I'm just basically out of blood? But anyway, I guess we must regenerate quickly because I was fine that day, but my blood results were not. My chemistry is just all over the place. My autoimmune markers are all just crazy, and it is frustrating, I have to say. I have to find another approach. I need to find another means of bringing these numbers down. Something's like they say, something's got to give, and I don't want it to be my body. Let's see what else has to give. Oh, I'll tell you, the whole Kate Middleton situation. That, something's got to give there, right? What was that? What is happening at the palace? It doesn't seem as sinister to me as everyone's making it out to be. I think that someone was probably just fucking around trying to improve the picture or whatever. And then it got found out, and then it got to be made a scandal. But it doesn't feel like it's a scandal to me. It really doesn't. I think everyone's honestly making too big of a thing out of it. I think this poor girl, she may have something serious. They very well may have, maybe she had fibroids removed, or, maybe they even found who knows, a non-cancerous tumor in her. Who knows what it is, but you have to respect this poor woman's right to privacy. You really do. They're so very public. I just think that they have the right to occasionally say, listen, we're not sharing. We don't need to share. This is staying within the walls. And I totally get it. But I do think that everyone is I think the reason why everyone has felt so invested in it is because of all of the Harry and Meghan stuff that came with it, and all of the pretext that came with those conversations about their differing offices, their PR offices. There was so much that Harry said about the whole PR of it all. So I think the fact that they were seen or perceived as to be not telling the, epitome of truth, I think that is now everybody's kind of like, perked up, like was what Harry was saying. Maybe Harry was onto something. Maybe we shouldn't have dismissed what he was saying so soon. Maybe they are, they are down to tell a fib or two or three or four, Yeah, I don't know. I think that the family matters that preceded this really could have impacted the reaction that we're seeing. Speaking of family, my darling family is planning a trip soon, and I am so excited about it. We're talking about, actually, we're more than talking, you guys. We are officially going to Lake Austin in a couple months. We have a bunch of family birthdays in May, and so we're going to go spend a few days together, having fun in the sun, water sports, hanging out, just spending time together, carving some time out to spend some intentional time together, which honestly, it just feels so important now more than ever, now that my kids are gone, because honestly, if you don't carve the time out, it just doesn't happen. So it's not like it used to be where, you don't just get to bank on weekends together. And we used to get to bank on weekends. It's funny. I saw Bethenny Frankel spending her weekend at a volleyball tournament with her daughter, travel sports, the whole bit. And it just took me back to that time of, traveling with the team, checking into the Best Western or whatever the little cheap hotel was that we were staying at. And then, going to eat at the Red Robin and rental cars and everybody caravanning down to the ball fields or the volleyball center. Those were the times. And they were exhausting. And I remember getting up at, 4:30 in the morning to meet everybody down at the parking lot because that's where we were leaving from. Those are the memories. And the fact of the matter is that we just don't, when you don't live in the house and you're not sharing the exact same life, you don't make those memories anymore. And if you don't carve the time out to make them, they just don't happen. And I am just not willing to do that. So, yeah, I just love the time that I get to have with my family. Nothing in this world matters to me more than that. Speaking of Bethenny Frankel, I want to get back to her for a second. I ran across a video the other day of a guy talking shit about Bethenny, talking about how wildly irresponsible Bethenny was being for promoting what he called disordered eating. And what he was talking about was a video where Bethenny was basically saying that people ask her how she stays thin, and she responds by saying that she tastes everything but doesn't get full on anything. And the guy's sitting there talking about the fact that is disordered eating. But the fact of the matter is that's not disordered eating at all. She tastes everything so that she doesn't feel cheated or deprived. And then she says she doesn't eat until she's full. And that makes sense too, actually, because that's the way that you're supposed to eat. We're not supposed to feel full. Once you feel full, you feel yuck. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to get to that point. You want to feel satisfied. Yes, of course. But Bethenny never said starve yourself. And this guy is mischaracterizing what she's saying and just trying to position her as some kind of, evil person who's really trying to prey on women or people. And that's not what she's trying to do. And truthfully, I'm so sick and tired of people trying to do that. I mean, Bethenny, the last thing that Bethenny's doing is telling people to starve themselves. That is so against brand for her. She's not promoting disordered eating. So this guy says this, and then you've got those big wave writers that hop in the comments, and then they start talking about Bethenny, and they start talking about Bethenny's appearance, and they start getting so mean about her appearance. And I don't understand how what Bethenny is doing is wildly responsible, but the way they're talking about Bethenny is not wildly irresponsible. It's ridiculous. And also, they're going after Bethenny and the way she looks, and the issues that they're talking about. I know those issues. Those are all the result of an autoimmune disorder. I suffer with the same thing. My inflammation is worse behind my eyes than it is anywhere else. My eyeballs are burning from the inside out. And so all of the juicy fluids in my eyes that are supposed to, surround my eyes dry up because of the inflammation. And my eyes are basically in a sand bath all day. And it is so painful, and it is so hard to deal with. And it gives me horrible black circles under my eyes. It changes the shape of my face on a daily basis. And so people coming at Bethenny, coming at her appearance due to something that she has no control of, really fucks me off. It really does. I just have to say that. And so before you all go talking about how wildly irresponsible Bethenny is, you might want to check yourselves. Anyways. Okay, guys. Well, on a happier note, I am going to be starting a live weekly reality check. We're starting on April 12th. All you have to do is go to my Patreon and subscribe. And for just a few dollars a month, you can join the weekly reality check, which gives you access to an hour with me once a week. You can ask questions. You can post theories. We are gonna gab and talk all the tea and all reality. So go check it out over there. And even if you are not up to participating and you would just like to support the pod with a donation, we would absolutely appreciate that. So all you have to do is go to Jenerally Speaking on Patreon. I will leave the link down below. So I watched the Oscars Sunday night, and I have to say, I actually loved them. And once again, I love Jimmy Kimmel. I absolutely think that, he's the perfect host to me. He really is. He is absolutely incredible. And the fact that he's getting shit for what he said to Robert Downey makes me think that people just do not understand healing in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to understand what he did wrong. And because here's the thing, guys, he did nothing wrong. And implying that he did is like mind-numbingly stupid. Robert Downey knows all about his issues. He knows all about who he used to be. But here's the thing. That's not who he is anymore. No joke that Jimmy Kimmel is going to make about how much time Robert Downey spent high is going to influence Robert Downey at all. At all. He's in on the joke. Do you hear me? He is in on the joke. Speaking of people who are in on the joke, Jay Shetty is in on the joke. You guys have heard all about this new Jay Shetty scandal, which I really hate even talking about because I don't want to give it any credence. Just because I am so tired one person who may not understand something, casting it in a negative / scandalous light, and then that causing everyone else to look at it, look at it sideways. So Jay Shetty, as you know, is a self-help, I don't want to call him a self-help guru, but for all intents and purposes, you know who he is. He was just in J-Lo's movie. He officiated her wedding. He's a super spiritual guy. He spent a bunch of time with monks. He's married to that beautiful woman. He is a very mindful, spiritual guy who basically delivers his brand of knowledge via social media and pop culture. And quite frankly, I get it. He became an enlightened guy, and that has become his life's work. And I have to say that it is not unlike my own story, because like I've told you guys 100 times before, I had a childhood that was like a made-for-TV movie. It was knockdown, drag-out fights all the time, drug addictions, drama, the whole bit. And it really impacted the trajectory of my life, the way I looked at myself. And then I fell headfirst accidentally into a drug addiction after I spent my whole life hating drugs and swearing I would never do them. But through that drug addiction, I came to understand myself in a way that I never had before. It allowed me to meet a part of myself that I could have never accessed without that journey. And so I came through my drug addiction and at a very pivotal time, I had a spiritual awakening that woke me up to the depths of love and the interconnectedness of all things. And that process was so powerful and life-changing for me that sharing my journey and sharing that experience became truthfully my life's calling. That is my true life's calling, because it fundamentally changed my life unlike anything else ever had. It changed my relationship with myself. I had longed for self-love. I had heard about self-love my whole life, and it was something that, clearly escaped me. I bought every book. I took classes and seminars. I did all the things. And finally, at the lowest point in my life, I had a spiritual awakening that changed my relationship with myself. And when I changed my relationship with myself, my entire world changed. It changed my entire relationship with my world, with all the people in my world, with the way I saw myself, with the way I related to myself, with the way I loved myself for the very first time in my life. I think Jay Shetty shares incredible wisdom, and he is clearly aligned with source, and it beautifully flows through him, and he is such a beautiful bridge for the message. And I think that anyone that is that beautiful of a bridge and does such a fine job articulating the message, I think they deserve all the kudos. And I do not have a problem with him starting a certification course in any way, shape, or form, because aligning people with source and their highest self is doing God's work, and I am absolutely here for it. And if Jay Shetty gets wealthy through that, then God bless him, because I have faith in his spirit, and that he is only lining his pockets to help line the pockets of other people. And I genuinely believe that about him. I really do. And hard left, here's someone I don't believe that about: Teresa and Louie. So, have you guys seen that new trailer for Real Housewives of New Jersey? It is something. Everybody is spilling on Teresa and Louie. Danielle Cabral, Jen Aiden, Dolores Catania. Everyone is talking about the fact that Teresa is not happy with Louis. And I mean, come on, you guys. We saw that coming so long ago. And I am so excited. This is some must-see TV. And speaking of must-see TV, have you guys seen Seeking Sister Wives? I need to know if you guys have seen this show, because if you haven't, you need to. These are polygamous families, and you guys, it is a study, you guys. Oh my God, you got to check it out. There are all these different families, all different configurations of families, but they're all looking to add someone to, basically, like Lala says, add someone to the pod. So you've got this one family, I'm blanking on their names, but you've got this one guy who he had 3 wives. He just had a baby by one. He had 3 wives. The 3rd wife just recently moved out because she wasn't willing to take on another wife so soon. And the interpersonal dynamics, you guys, that go on in these families and how they navigate bringing another person in is just I'm like a kid in a candy store, honestly, just looking at them and just watching and analyzing the hows, the whys, how they come to the conclusions, how they, justify certain things. It is really so incredibly interesting. And you know what it does, truthfully? This show is doing for me what Sister Wives used to do. When I first started watching Sister Wives, I was so judgmental against it. Like I didn't watch it for so long because I just thought those people were weird and I couldn't relate to them. But then I don't know what happened. I started watching it and I started I remember thinking that their kids were really cool, solid kids and being impressed with their kids. And then I started getting impressed with some of the wives. And I was thinking that they were really cool people. So I went from like judging to understanding. And that's kind of that's what exposure does to you. And shows like this expose you to things that I've never been exposed to this shit in my entire life. So it is, kind of mind blowing, but it also allows you some insight that you wouldn't normally have. And I am here for it. So we'll call it a teachable moment. Anyway, all right, you guys. Well, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but stay tuned because when we come back, it is time for our weekly reality check. We are back and starting this week's reality check off with Tritas. So it was down to Kate, Trishelle. I don't know why I have such trouble with her name. Trishelle, MJ, and CT. And then Kate was no more. Kate was gone. It was down to Trishelle, MJ, and CT. And they were standing all there around that fire. And poor little MJ was so certain that the 3 of them were going to be running off into the sunset together. And then the whole game changed. And Trishelle and CT ended up giving MJ the boot, and those 2 ended up splitting the cash prize. And MJ went home pissed as can be. And apparently, word on the street is that she is still not over it, as you could see when you were watching the reunion. She took it personally, and it looks like there is no going back, which is too bad for her because ultimately you have to be prepared for that to happen. You have to know. I feel like it's the kind of thing where you just kind of have to bank on that happening. And then if it doesn't happen, then it's the bonus. You know what I mean? Then that's just the cherry on top. But I don't think that you can bank on that cherry. I just don't. Okay, and then we'll go from Traders over to Summer House. Summer House, where shit is getting sticky. And I'm telling you something. I know at this point, Carl has not ended it with Lindsay, but I'll tell you, you can definitely tell that it should be ended. You could tell from the moment we saw them that at least this season, that there was, they have felt awkward and uncomfortable from the get. But also, truthfully, I feel like Carl feels very, like, I feel like he still feels uncomfortable in his own skin. I don't think that Carl has found his authentic truth yet. I feel like there are layers to Carl that he still has to peel back and get right with before he can ever live the kind of life that he, wants to live, like in alignment with his truth and purpose. And he's not there yet because I don't think that he's being completely honest with himself. And I hope he gets there, but I don't think he's there yet. And I kind of think that Lindsay is. I do. I think that Lindsay knows herself much more than Carl knows himself. Then we have the Kyle and Amanda of it all, and those poor little babies are totally struggling. And honestly, I feel like at this point they could go either way. I mean, they might just prove us all wrong, but I could easily see, I don't know. I feel like I could just easily see both of them just being like, hey, how about we just, call it a wash and go our separate ways. I feel like, for some reason, I feel like that's just not out of the realm of possibility for them. I mean, I'm cheering for them. I like them both. I like them as a couple, but sometimes, life just comes down to timing, and sometimes you get it wrong the first time. And that's just the way it goes. And that, doesn't make any one of them right or wrong. It really doesn't. It just makes them wrong for each other at this time. But the couple, let's talk about the couple that I am into. And I really am into them. Sierra and West. I mean, even their names kind of go together, right? Going to the West, out to the Sierras. I just love it. Their compatibility and chemistry, I feel like they are compatible and they have chemistry. It's not one or the other here. They are, I feel like they're locked and loaded. I feel like I'm witnessing the beginning of like a power couple, like a true love story, because he is so respectful of her, and she just looks at him and lights up. It is the sweetest thing. And what about him sweating like an armed bandit at that date that they were on? Poor guy. I mean, the poor guy. That was horrible. He needed a fucking headband. But I'm actually, when I'm done with this pod, I'm going to watch the next episode. And I am excited. Moving on to Vanderpump Rules. Oh my God. What about this episode, you guys? Sandoval really trying to find his footing amongst the group. Meanwhile, you've got Ariana and her campaign manager, Katie, doing everything they can to make people feel like shit for, having a heart and just entertaining the thought of reconciliation with Sandoval. I mean, it is so crazy the way they are trying to manipulate everyone, and it's just so transparent. It's like, do they think that we can't see what they're doing? I mean, it's like so 2 + 2 in these 4th grade faces that they keep pulling. It's like, oh my God, looking down their nose at anyone that would even think to have a discussion with Sandoval. And I can't believe you don't think more of yourself too. I mean, is this, it's like, I feel like they can't even be for real. It's like, are they kidding themselves at this point? It is so righteous. It's so unfucking believable. But you really can't be surprised, because them maintaining that righteous, holier than thou attitude keeps them in this holier than thou position where, everybody else looks like a piece of shit except for them. And, they're exalted to this, angelic status because they were the ones that got fucked over by the Toms. and Katie sitting there crying, talking about the fact that Tom Sandoval ruined her marriage and he was so horrible to her. I mean, I have never once seen that girl take any fucking accountability. Everything is everybody else's fault. And what about when Sheena was talking about what a good friend Tom had been to her historically? And that fucking Katie tells her, oh, well, Sheena goes, well, 10 years ago, he's been so good to me. He was good to me 10 years ago when he was the only one that would pose with me in a picture and let me into the group. And like, there wasn't just one thing. I mean, that was just Tom's way with her. He was kind and wonderful to Sheena. And Sheena's talking about that because that's part of what she's wrestling with. You know, the big picture of her friendship and not this one little particular timestamp of it. But no, according to Katie, Sheena is supposed to forget their history and just focus on the most recent fuck up. That's it. Nothing else is supposed to matter. Just the most recent and worst thing that he did. And I just have to say, those two they're like the president and the vice president of the ex-wives club. They're like two bitter Bettys. That's all they are. And Katie's sitting there calling people Satan. Has she seen her horns? I mean, truthfully. But I'm telling you with Katie, the problem with that girl is that she doesn't understand her own worth. And she depends on everybody else and every circumstance around her to define her worth. And that's why she's so up and down. And that's why she's such a bitch. And that's why that's why they put pressure on everyone else to act a certain way, because then that defines them. You know, oh God, it's exhausting. Okay, everybody, it's time for a quick commercial break, but stick around because when we come back, it's time to recap Beverly Hills and celebrate 10 years of Married to Medicine. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars. On Beverly Hills last night, you guys, it was the long-awaited part 3 of the reunion. And I have to say, it did not disappoint. Kyle basically said it all without saying it all. I mean, the whole hour was basically Kyle's. I mean, the hour started with Kathy walking out, and then there was that hiccup where Sutton kind of lost her shit, and I don't know what that was. I personally think it was a panic attack. That's really what I think it was. But, I mean, better safe than sorry, especially when you're dealing with Sutton. Anyway, it was a lot. I was so happy to see Kathy sitting next to her sister for Kyle's sake. I know that this has been such a rough year for her. It's just so obvious. And I have to say, I think that Kyle Richards is honestly an angel of a human. I really do. I think that she is genuine and authentic. And I know that she puts her family out there. And I know that you would say, you know, she participates in it, but you have to understand also that she has balanced this type of shit her whole life. This is kind of all she knows, and she operates from a genuinely good heart where she wants the best for people. She is well intentioned. And I am a huge Kyle Richards fan, and I am just feeling this for her. Like I feel her heartbreak when I watch her cry over her husband and her family, you know, her family changing and this different dynamic, and it's just so obvious how painful it is for her. But, you know, I mean, firstly, she can handle it. She's a big girl, but you can see that this wasn't what she wanted, and that this has been hard for her, and that she's had to be brave and strong through this. And granted, that's the stuff that grows us up, true, but you still hate to see it. And no one wants to see someone that is well-intentioned go, you know, get hurt and go through stuff, even though it does forge them through the fire. But yeah, I think Kyle is an absolute love, and I'm so very happy to see her sister sitting by her, cheering her on, giving her support, speaking very highly of Morgan, who Kathy met quite a while back. She talked about it. I remember when those pictures were published, and she came out and she has spoken only very highly about Morgan. And it is so obvious that Kyle is dealing with a lot of pain when it comes to her family, but she's also found this beautiful new joy, and you can really see that in her. She has found a partner in Morgan, and she has made that, without actually saying it, she basically said it. She said, "I think Morgan is hot. I was curious about the kiss." And then when Andy asked her, she said that she couldn't rule out a future with Morgan because she is growing and evolving and changing, and she doesn't know what the future is going to hold. But I did see the way that Morgan was holding on to Kyle's back when they were at Watch What Happens Live, and I've never seen a friendship look like that. They're definitely on their way out as a couple. I give it 2 more weeks tops before they are just out and loud and proud, because they are just, their profile is increasing by the moment. They're just being seen more and more together. There's new paparazzi shots of them looking cozy and together, laughing. I think Kyle was waiting for this show to wrap. And then she was going to come out. And I think that's exactly what's happening. And I agree with Andy when he said that, we might see Morgan out here next year. And I would not be surprised in any way, shape, or form if next year little Miss Morgan was sitting exactly where Mauricio used to be. So, but that's okay. That is the journey of life, and here we are. And I wish Kyle all of the best, regardless of what that looks like. I am a huge Kyle fan. I'm here for you, Kyle. Moving on to Married to Medicine, you guys. 10 years of paging Dr. Simone, paging Dr. Jackie, paging Dr. Heavenly, Toya, and now Sweet Tea and Phaedra, and now the new girl Alicia and her new husband Kima. I love all those other husbands. I just think they are so great. Eugene and Cecil and Gregory and Damon and Curtis. But I gotta say, of all of them, my absolute favorite is of everyone is Dr. Simone. And it's that laugh of hers, you guys. Have you heard her laugh? And the way she laughs at herself, I just think is fucking hilarious. She's the funniest part of that. I would watch that show, honestly, just for her. And for how absolutely out of pocket that freaking Dr. Heavenly is. She is wild. I'm telling you, I love that show. I don't know. I want to hang out with those ladies so badly. Like I would rather hang out with the Married to Medicine crew than any Real Housewife crew. 100%. I just love them. I think they are hilarious. I love the way they do those freaking yearly couples retreats. Also, hello, they work. Honestly, they really get up in each other's shit, but I think it forces a conversation, and that's always healthy. So, as much as it might be uncomfortable and a little strange and awkward at first, I think in the end, what shakes out is all pretty positive. Okay, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. I've had so much fun. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm actually going to get out of here and go and watch Summer House. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star rating, we would love that. Feel free to leave a comment. If you would like to send me a question, you can email me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. You can find me on Instagram at the Jennifer Snook. On TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking. And make sure you subscribe to my Patreon so that you can join my weekly live reality check. All right, everybody, it's been a blast. And until we're together again, stay rooted in love.